Dear Melissa, my employer hired me as a product manager in a team of project managers who have been focused on delivering the software, which is AI computer vision modules, to big companies on strict deadlines, meeting high standards of quality as needed rapidly. How do I convince them to incorporate customer interviews and think like product managers when they don't even get to control or decide how these big companies will use their models within their own apps or systems? They also want to build their own apps B2C, but are worried if these big companies would cancel their license with them for doing something similar and selling to customers directly. So my question here is like, are you a consultancy or are you a product company? Because it sounds like you're a consultancy. Now, I don't know if you mean to be a consultancy, but from the last part of here where you're considering building your own apps, it sounds like you're a consultancy. So let's start there. It sounds like you're a development consultancy, the product management inside of a company. That's your client. And they're just dictating to you what to build. So one, if you're going to switch that dynamic, you have to reset expectations with your customers, right? You have to kind of come in there and say, hey, this is how we want to work. You tell us what problem you're solving. We're going to help you come up with a great idea on how to solve that through software. So if that dynamic is not set though in a consultancy, that's incredibly hard to change. And it also depends on what did your clients hire you for? Like, did they hire you to solve problems, or did they hire you because they know how to solve their problems and they want to dictate it to you? Which could be where these AI computer vision models come in. So I think you need to suss that out first, because if you come in there and just be like, hey, we need to change the way that we work, there's actually a lot that goes into that when you run a consultancy. I ran a consultancy before. It is very hard work, and resetting expectations with your client is incredibly hard, but you can make that transition if you want to. It might be more successful with other clients down the road. So that's where I would start, figuring out what does the company really want to be. And if they did bring you in as a product manager, it sounds like they want to move more in that direction, but I think you're going to have to line up all the things you're going to need to change in order to move there and make that very transparent for the co-founders. The second part is asking about, could you actually build B2C stuff? And maybe that's why you were hired as a product manager, to help think through those apps. If so, that's where I think you should be spending a lot of your time, is trying to figure out what you could sell from it. Now, I think as long as you're not directly competing with what these companies sell, you're okay. And that's how I would think about this. Lots of companies got started doing consultancy type work and using their clients as the first proof points for things they want to sell broader or move into a SaaS product. This happens all over the place. This is a very common tactic to get used to, finding problems and figuring out what you can actually build out of there. So tons of companies have done this. That's a normal pattern. But I think where your big companies are going to get iffy is if you're building something that they're building from a perspective of they want to sell it, and now you're competing with them. So I would stay away from that. If you want to build your own B2C apps, think about, what are the patterns I've seen? Maybe like, what are the patterns you've seen even with these companies? Like, you want to build B2C apps, but what about B2B apps, right? Could you start to standardize or, automate the stuff that you're doing for these bigger companies and then sell it to them? Great way to break into a B2B market. That's how I would be thinking there. If you want to sell B2C stuff, as long as it's not your customer's product, it's not a carbon copy of it, I don't think they would really care. If it is a carbon copy of it, I could see them canceling the license and then probably suing you. So I would really stay away from that. And again, you're going to want to reset expectations if you do want to go that B2B route. And even if you want to do some B2C work as well, I think you might want to think about how you disentangle yourself from consulting and then move straight into software if that's the route you want to go. So having one foot in the software door and having one foot in the consultancy world will work for a little bit, but it's not going to work forever. So I think you have to be really clear about what you want for the company at the end of the day. And then you can go back and start to change the mindsets about what you need to get there. So if you're leading product, really sift through what is the problem we are trying to solve here as a company first. That's going to help you a long way with dealing with management and the co-founders and your clients.